Yo, man, welcome back. Today, man, we got Davante Adams is getting traded again. Man, I just don't get it. Davante Adams wanted to trade out of Green Bay now. If he's getting traded again from the Raiders, I don't know what team he's going to. Hey, my Ravens go pick him up, but I feel like he probably get traded to the NFC back. I don't know where. Now the Commanders would be nice. Same.
As the game went on, I don't think it was a team. I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions.
I love Davante. Can't wait to play with him again.
Great.
The trade rumors surrounding Davante Adams have been insane, especially when you lost to the worst team in the NFL this past Sunday. Things are looking very messy for the Las Vegas Raiders, which means this team might be headed for a full-scale rebuild. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and
they've been in rebuild damn near the whole time. Come on now. They traded away Derek Carr with a sign. Jim Garoppolo, fuck. The Raiders, I'm sorry, Raiders is not going to be shit, and they're never on shit. They haven't really found their franchise QB. They let Hunter Winfrey go. They traded away Darren Wallers. I mean, fuck.
and turn on our notifications to help us get to 1 million subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, work. Been using the Caleb Williams free square to make some easy money. Stats the App Store dollars or more with on Monday Night Football. Last Monday night we were able to hit. So tonight I have Jamar Chase coming down with the target against Scare. Ice Picks is without a doubt the most volatile sport ever. Primarily because you can make a decision that seems to be very logical for you at first, and it could completely blow up in your face. And that's exactly what happened with Davante Adams when he decided to agree to a trade to the Las Vegas Raiders. You see, in the spring of 2022, Davante Adams knew that the writing was on the wall. For all he knew, his Hall of Fame quarterback was about to head to a different team, and the quarterback that was supposed to take his place seemed relatively underdeveloped. So he decided to make a business decision, agreeing to get traded to the Las Vegas Raiders in return for a first-round pick and a second-round pick in the NFL draft. Then would agree to a 5-year, $140 million contract extension. The idea seemed like
he could have stayed with Green, bro. Imagine Green, bro. He could have stayed in Green Bay. Could have stayed in Green Bay, like, bro. That's
slam dunk. The Las Vegas Raiders were coming off of a remarkable season in their own right. If you guys remember, this was one of Derek Carr's greatest seasons to date for the Raiders. A magical season where, despite the Henry Ruggs tragedy, despite John Gruden resigning in the middle of the season, Derek Carr and Rich Bisaccia were able to lead the Raiders to the playoffs on the backs of one of the greatest seasons of Derek Carr's career. A season where he threw for over 4,800 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions, completing 68% of his passes. Things were looking great for the Raiders. They decided to get a brand new head coach in Josh McDaniels and also trade for Davante Adams, reuniting him.
And Josh McDaniels, that nigga was trash. Let me be honest now. They fired him and the GM. Oh, that's how you know it's bad. If they gotta fire the head coach and the GM, that's how you know it's bad. That's how you know it's bad. That's how you know it's bad. That's how you know it's bad if they gotta hire, if they gotta fire a GM and the head coach.
With his starting quarterback from Fresno State when they were in college. What could go wrong? Well, in year one, not very much did go wrong, at least in the start. Statistically, Davante Adams didn't skip a beat. As a matter of fact, he was just as prolific as he was with Aaron Rodgers under center. Over 1,500 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns, a first-team All-Pro once again. But unfortunately, the Raiders didn't experience much team success, so much so that Josh McDaniels decided to bench Derek Carr in the latter part of the season.
We're going to go ahead and start Jarrett the last couple games of the season here. You know, none of us is happy with where we're at, but we think it's an opportunity to, you know, evaluate a younger player who hasn't had much time to play. You know, talking to Derek, who was great. You know, he understands the scenario that we're in and the situation, and very supportive of the two young guys. Those three guys obviously have worked together.
You think Derek Carr is supportive? He just, come on now. He probably got to. You think he's supportive? Now look at Derek Carr now, shining in New Orleans as a Saint.
And all year, and you know, he'll do anything he can to help them. So, you know, that's what we're going to do. And obviously, we're you know, started into our preparation for what I think probably is the best football team top to bottom that we've played.
Now, you can say what you want about Davante Adams, but one thing I'll always respect him for is that he does his best to be a consummate professional, although he doesn't always succeed at that. What do I mean by this? Well, Davante Adams isn't the type of guy that'll go and tell the media that he's upset about the way things are going down. However, you could pretty much tell based off of his mannerisms on the field that he might not be happy with the direction of a franchise, particularly during his time with the Las Vegas Raiders. Before you know it, Derek Carr gets cut by the Raiders despite agreeing to a contract extension the season before. Josh McDaniels brings in one of his guys, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G was terrible with the Las Vegas Raiders, and if you saw Netflix's
You're telling me you cut Derek Carr to sign Jimmy Garoppolo? Where's the nigga now? Nigga not even in the league no more. Like,
you could tell that Davante Adams wasn't happy about it.
Bench Jimmy Garoppolo for the rookie Aiden O'Connell.
What was your opinion on that? Well, my opinion on that was that I signed off on that. And that's just the reality of it. I love Jimmy, and he's a great guy, but, something had to happen in order for us to have a chance down the stretch and for me to remain a Raider, in all honesty.
This caused a near mutiny in the Las Vegas Raiders locker room. Eventually, Josh McDaniels got fired and Antonio Pierce took over. Now, Raiders fans know that one of the biggest criticisms of the front office is the fact.
Now, see, I think Antonio Pierce can actually change things around, but I don't know. I just feel like the Raiders organization as a whole just cursed. I don't know. The Raiders, to me, just seem like the Clippers, bum-ass Clippers. Always had good teams, but just never, just trash. They really have not done nothing in the playoffs. Nothing. Usually always have good teams and just been shit. Feel me?
That the Raiders didn't hire Rich Bisaccia as the full-time head coach following his incredible stint as an interim head coach. So since Antonio Pierce had his players become very motivated, and since Max Crosby and multiple other players vouched for him, the Raiders decided to bring back AP for another season. However, this offseason didn't really inspire a lot of hope for Las Vegas Raiders fans, primarily because there was a huge hole at the quarterback position. And whenever you're going into the next season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as your starting QBs, and you're in the same division as the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, clearly you aren't in any shape to contend. But regardless, the Raiders did their best. In week 1, they would lose to the Los Angeles Chargers, but in week 2, they had an impressive victory against the Baltimore Ravens. This inspired a lot of hope.
That was a fluke win.
Amongst Las Vegas Raiders fans, but ultimately that wouldn't be sustainable. This past Sunday, the Raiders went up against the Carolina Panthers, a team that has been so god-awful over the first 3 weeks that they had to bench their starting QB, Bryce Young. And we already have 3 videos on this. It's actually our last video that we made on this channel, and I think I have to bring you guys an update based off of how this game went. So if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comment section down below. But if you're tired of that storyline, you could also let me know and I could cover other stuff first. I was kind of on the fence. I felt like it was the first thing I should cover today, but I also felt like you guys felt a little bit overwhelmed by how much that story is developing, so let me know in the comments. From the Raiders perspective, if you have a journeyman quarterback who's 37 years old that is taking over a struggling offense, where your best wide receiver is a 34-year-old Adam Thielen and Deontay Johnson, if you're coming off of a game where you were able to defeat the Baltimore Ravens, you should expect to beat the Carolina Panthers. Ultimately, that's not what would happen. The Las Vegas Raiders would get destroyed by the Carolina Panthers. In the middle of this game, you saw a lot of frustration, including this viral picture of Davante Adams at halftime. Just look at him. This man doesn't need to be vocal in the media for you to know that he's not happy with the way things are going.
Davante Adams shaking his head, can't believe it.
And how could he be?
Adams, sorry, we're not gonna feel sorry for you. You're the one that you approved the trade to the Raiders. So I mean, don't be doing this. You didn't have to approve the trade to the Raiders. You could have stayed with Green Bay, or approach a trade to somebody else. Like, come on now.
Into
What?
this game, the Carolina Panthers had the worst overall defense in the NFL. Davante Adams in this game particularly had 4 receptions for 40 yards and no touchdowns. In his game against the Ravens, he had 9 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown. One would assume that he would be able to be even more prolific against a significantly worse defense, but that wasn't the case. So when Antonio Pierce was asked what the hell is going on, his response didn't instill a lot of hope either.
The team just didn't seem to show up tonight.
No, they didn't. I think as the game went on, I don't think it was a team. I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions, and will make business decisions going forward as well.
So a lot of people are speculating if the individual that Antonio Pierce is talking about is Davante Adams making business decisions. This is because he had a team-high 9 targets from Gardner Minshew. Now, when Davante Adams was asked about this situation, he gave the most Davante Adams answer ever. I feel like, I don't know, this is tough for me to identify that. I'm not sure. So this brings us to where we are right now. I said this in the later part of the offseason. I'll say it now. I think the top player that is a candidate to be traded during this season is Davante Adams. Look, Raider fans, nothing against you. There's just no point in keeping Davante Adams on this roster currently. There's absolutely no point. I mean, currently it looks like the Raiders are the worst team in the division, underneath even the Denver Broncos. And look, I know it's still very early in the NFL season, but you share a division with the Chiefs and the Chargers, for crying out loud. If I shared the same conference as the Chiefs, I would have reservations about trying to contend. Jokes aside, there's no point in trying to keep this core together where your ceiling might be, I don't know, 6-11 with all due respect. You guys know me, I'm a huge Gardner Minshew fan, and he's completed 74% of his passes so far for 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But there really is no point in keeping Davante Adams on this team when your team has significantly more holes to fill. No, not like that, you freaks. And I know as football fans, every single time a Davante Adams...
Buddy, we didn't think about that. You did. We didn't think about that, gang. You did, bro. We didn't think about none of that.
Trade rumor comes up, there's one team we're all looking at. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has been flirting with the idea of Davante Adams.
I mean, yeah, to the Jets, but does he want to go to the Jets because Aaron Rodgers is going to retire soon? So does he want to stay on the Jets? Like, come on now.
Becoming a Jet ever since he got traded to the Jets. Davante even said this.
It was good to see him. We went to dinner at Barry's and sat in the back room and just chopped it up for like 4 hours. So it was good to get that time. Into next year. I'll see you out there.
And Aaron Rodgers likes to play around with this concept. He always likes to stir the media.
I love Lou Getsy. He's a fantastic coach.
Awesome.
And I love Davante. I can't wait to play with him again.
Great.
So, of course, we're always going to bring up Davante Adams to the New York Jets. But could it happen? Would it even make sense for it to happen? Do the Jets have cap space to make it happen? And should the Raiders do it? Well, let's start from the very beginning. If you were to compare the trading of Davante Adams to other wide receivers that are at a similar age as he was, which we had 2 trades that were very similar over the offseason of Pro Bowl wide receivers switching teams, then we could determine his trade value. On one end, you have Stephon Diggs, who is currently 30 years old, going into his age 31 season. And Stephon Diggs is an incredible wide receiver, but he's not Davante Adams. Stephon Diggs has been an All-Pro twice in his career, a first-team All-Pro once in his career, a second-team All-Pro in 2022. He was a Pro Bowler in 2023, but in the latter part of the season, he clearly slowed down a little bit. Despite this, the Buffalo Bills were able to trade Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans for a second-round pick. When you compare this to Keenan Allen, who has never been an All-Pro wide receiver, despite being a very good wide receiver, he was coming off of the best season of his career, which was his age 31 season, where he became a Pro Bowler. He was traded to the Chicago Bears for a 4th-round pick. Now, when you compare this to Davante Adams, who is without a doubt the best wide receiver out of the bunch, he is going to turn 32 years old in December. He does have a...
Damn. 32? Bro, all they get to receive is, like, all they get to receive. See, and the thing about the NFL is, like, the age... They retire the youngest. See, the thing about NBA, you can retire at 40 years old. That's why the Bronx are playing now. NFL is different because, you know, saying your body, once you older, your body not going to be getting used to taking all them hits and all that. So, crazy though, man.
a high cap hit, then one can assume that the Raiders could get a second round pick for him. And honestly, given where the New York Jets are as a team, it wouldn't surprise me if they got a future first round pick in return for him, but would have to send back a later pick as well. Just determining his value from the high end, it could be a first round pick. The lower end, it could be a third round pick. And I don't think it's going to get outside of those parameters. If the Jets were to go to the Raiders and dangle a first round pick, I think it's a no brainer at that point. But could the Jets do it? Do they have the cap space to do it? And believe it or not, they actually do. See, in the offseason, it's a different story, but since the season started, the Raiders' cap hit for Davante Adams is $25 million. The Jets currently have $18 million in cap room thanks to the Hassan Reddick situation. But next season, Davante Adams is going to be due $44.5 million. But at the point that we're making this video, the Jets currently have $87 million in cap space for next season, which is the fourth most in the NFL, which means the New York Jets could get on the phone and negotiate with the Raiders right now if they'd like, which would mean that they would have a wide receiver core of Garrett Wilson, Davante Adams, Allen Lazard, and Mike Williams, which would be insane. Davante Adams as your wide receiver 2 is already insanity in my opinion. The man hasn't skipped
I don't know, man.
Since leaving Green Bay, despite having very poor quarterback play. It makes a lot of sense for the Raiders to pull the trigger on this, and it makes a lot of sense for the Jets to pull the trigger on this. With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this season, Davante Adams ends up on the New York Jets. But let me know in the comment section down below if you agree with all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. And
let me know what y'all think down below. Yeah.